Michael Melfi here, partner at Taylor English. And I was talking with a few different clients in the last week, and they were bringing up questions around where to set up an entity and how to set up the entity. And while we'll talk about what's the right entity form on another episode, I thought it was a really good idea just to really kind of talk through one principle here. When you set up an entity, you're looking to set it up in a state. Once you have that entity set up in a state, whatever state it may be, you're then going to go and file for an EIN, which is going to be done with the IRS at the federal level. That's how you're able to pay your taxes and be identified on the federal systems with that number. You know, and what we heard was in the Corporate Transparency Act, when we were talking with Jonathan, was all about being able to disclose who your owners are. And if that happens, now all of a sudden the idea of putting an entity in this state or that state becomes a lot less relevant, because now you have a federal reporting regulation that's going to require you to report on all your owners, which would trump the state, which is going to say, hey, you don't have to necessarily report that. What I think is important to know about this is, regardless of what state you file in, and for certain reasons you may want to file in Delaware as opposed to not, but ultimately you're filing in a state. The other thing you have to think about is, where are you operating that entity? And so if you're operating, if you're filed in, say, Delaware, but you're operating in Michigan or you're operating in Arizona, you're going to want to make sure that you've done the right filings and necessary filings at the state level for you to be licensed and be doing business in that state. You know, let's say you're operating and you are headquartered out of Atlanta. However, you have satellite offices that operate in 10 different states. You're still going to have to deal with the filings necessary at the state level to deal with each one of those states to make sure you're in compliance at that state level. It's a slight nuance that most people overlook or just don't worry about, but it's come up a couple of times. We've worked on a few projects around that recently, and I just wanted to point it out there, is that's really important. Not only let's get your entity filed in the right state for you based on your strategic plan, but additionally making sure as you move into other states or operate in states other than the state in which you're filed, that you've created your formation, that you're going to have the right filings. So let's say in like Michigan, a certificate of authority would be necessary. In each state, it's named a little differently, but the same kind of principle behind it is, have you taken the time to properly register your country, your company in different states? Just something to think about. If you have more questions, don't hesitate to shoot them over to me. I look forward to talking to you very soon.